In the far reaches of space, far beyond where most humans had ever traveled, the Virelians were fighting for their survival. Their home planet, Virella, was a beautiful world filled with towering blue forests and sparkling silver lakes. But the peace of their home was shattered by an enemy so strong that many thought no one could stop it. The enemy was called the Zorvax. They were fierce and cruel, with weapons that could destroy entire cities in moments. The Virelians had been fighting them for years, but the Zorvax had more ships, more soldiers, and more firepower. It seemed impossible to win. The Virelian leaders knew they needed help. Their scientists worked day and night to find a way to call their allies across the stars, but their usual allies were too far away or too busy to come. Desperation grew with every battle lost. Then, in the depths of the Virelian research station, something unexpected happened. Dr. Lyra, the chief scientist, stared at the glowing screen in front of her. She was tired but determined. The signal they had created was complex. It was meant to be secret, sent only to a group of trusted planets. But in the chaos of war, a small mistake was made. Instead of sending the signal to their allies, it was broadcast much farther than anyone realized, into an area where humans were exploring. Thousands of light years away. On the USS Horizon, Captain James Archer was having a quiet day. The ship was on a routine mission, scanning nearby star systems for signs of life and new planets. It was a peaceful time compared to the battles the humans had fought in the past. Suddenly, the ship's sensors picked up an unusual signal. It was unlike anything they had seen before, a complex code hidden in the waves of space. Lieutenant Mira, the ship's communications officer, was the first to notice it. "Captain, you need to see this," she said, her voice curious and a little excited. "We've received a signal. It's encrypted, but it's definitely a call for help." Captain Archer looked at the screen and rubbed his chin thoughtfully. "Where is it coming from?" Mira pointed to the star map. "From the Virelian system. It's near the edge of explored space," the captain nodded. "Let's decode the message. If someone is calling for help, we can't ignore it." Hours passed as the ship's crew worked to unlock the code. The message was clear. It was a distress call. The Virelians were in trouble and they needed assistance against the Zorvax. Captain Archer faced a difficult choice. The humans had not been invited to this conflict. The Virelians had not asked for human help, but leaving anyone in danger was against everything he believed in. "We're going to answer the call," he said firmly. "Prepare the ship for jump. We're going to Virella." Meanwhile, back at the Virelian research station, no one had realized what had happened. The signal had been sent out by mistake. The Virelian leaders were shocked when their sensors detected a large human ship entering their system. Commander Valen, the head of the Virelian fleet, frowned. "Who are these humans? Why are they here?" Dr. Lyra explained what had happened. "The signal, it was meant only for our allies. We never intended for humans to see it." Commander Valen was skeptical. "Humans are unknown to us. They could be dangerous." But the humans were already landing on Virella. Captain Archer and his crew stepped off the ship and into the strange blue forests of the Virelian world. They were greeted with caution but not hostility. "We didn't mean to call you," Dr. Lyra told Captain Archer. "But now that you're here, maybe this mistake can be a chance for both of us." The humans quickly showed their skills. Their ships were fast and well armed. Their soldiers were brave and smart. The Virelians had never seen anything like it. As the sun set over Virella's silver lakes, a new hope was born. Maybe, just maybe, the humans could help the Virelians stand against the Zorvax. Captain Archer looked up at the stars. "We didn't mean to come here," he said quietly. "But we won't leave while anyone needs help." The war was far from over. But with the humans now answering the call, the galaxy was about to change forever. The USS Horizon had barely landed on Virella's surface before Captain James Archer felt the weight of what had just happened. Humans had crossed vast stretches of space answering a call not meant for them. Yet, now that they were here, the fate of an entire species might depend on their actions. The Virelian leaders had gathered in the large, shimmering council hall, a building made of crystal-like materials that reflected the fading light outside. Commander Valen, the hardened leader of the Virelian fleet, paced back and forth, eyes fixed on the humans who stood quietly but confidently before him. "You come uninvited," Valen said coldly. "How do we know you are not a threat?" Captain Archer met Valen's gaze without hesitation. "We are explorers and protectors. We respond to those in need. We do not seek war, but we will fight to defend those who cannot defend themselves. The room was silent for a moment. The Varelians were not used to such directness or confidence. Their own allies had been cautious and secretive. But there was something different about the humans. Something strong. Dr. Lyra, standing beside the commander, stepped forward. The humans bring new technology and new ideas. Their ships are faster, and their weapons more advanced than what we have seen. They can change the course of this war. Commander Valen nodded slowly. We have been fighting the Zorvax for years. They are ruthless. We have lost many friends, many ships. If your people can help, we must learn to trust you. Captain Archer smiled slightly. Trust is earned. Let us start by sharing what we know and plan together. The council agreed to allow the humans access to their strategic centers. For the first time in years, Varelian leaders and human officers gathered around holographic maps of the galaxy. The humans studied the positions of Zorvax fleets in their recent attacks. Lieutenant Mira, the Horizon's communications officer, pointed to a cluster of enemy ships near a critical Varelian outpost. If we can strike here, we might slow their advance. One of the Varelian commanders, a tall, blue-skinned warrior named Keelan, frowned. The Zorvax have heavy defenses there. A direct attack could cost many lives. Captain Archer nodded. Then we won't attack directly. Humans use something called hit-and-run tactics. Strike fast, then retreat before the enemy can respond. The Varelians listened carefully as the humans explained their strategies. It was different from anything the aliens had tried, but with hope growing, they agreed to test it. Meanwhile, the humans explored the planet's surface. Virella was beautiful and strange. Its skies shimmered with violet light and the air was filled with unfamiliar scents. Captain Archer found himself both excited and cautious. They were far from home in a place few humans had seen and everything was new. The humans and Varelians began training together. Human soldiers shared their skills in zero-gravity combat, teamwork, and use of advanced technology. Varelian warriors taught the humans about their planet's terrain, culture, and the history of the war against the Zorvax. Friendships started to form despite differences. Lieutenant Mira found herself talking to a young Varelian named Terrace, who was fascinated by human music and stories. Terrace told her about his family and the hopes he had for peace. This war has taken so much from us, Terrace said quietly, but maybe with you here we can find a way to end it. The first test of the new alliance came quickly. Intelligence showed that the Zorvax were planning an attack on a small Varelian colony near the edge of the system. The humans and Varelians prepared to strike first. The USS Horizon and several smaller human ships joined Varelian fighters in a fast strike team. They flew in low to avoid enemy sensors and used their combined weapons to hit supply ships and communication hubs. The attack was swift and precise. From the command bridge of the Horizon, Captain Archer watched the battle unfold on the view screen. The enemy was caught off guard. The human tactics worked better than anyone expected. The Zorvax forces scrambled to respond but were pushed back. After the attack, the humans returned to Varela as heroes. The Varelians cheered, their hope renewed. Commander Valen admitted, "Your people fight differently. You are stronger than we imagined." But Captain Archer was cautious. "This is just the beginning. The Zorvax will not stop. We need to prepare for what comes next." That night, as stars glittered over the alien forests, Captain Archer sat outside the base with Lieutenant Mira. "We didn't mean to get involved," he said. "But now that we are, we can't turn away." Mira nodded. "I feel the same. There's something about this fight. It's bigger than any one of us." Suddenly, a message came through from the humans' nearby colonies. It was a call for reinforcements. The Horizon was not alone. Humans from across the nearby systems had heard the signal and were ready to send ships. The accidental call for help had become a rallying cry. The Varelian leaders gathered again, this time with a mix of hope and concern. More human ships would arrive. But that meant this war was no longer just theirs. It was becoming a much larger conflict. Dr. Lyra addressed the council. "The humans bring strength and courage, but their presence will change everything. We must be ready to fight not just for ourselves, but for the future of many species." Commander Valen agreed. "We did not ask for this, but now that the humans have answered, we will stand together." Captain Archer prepared to send a message back to Earth, explaining the situation and requesting more help. The humans were ready to do whatever it took to protect the Varelians and stop the Zorvax. As the first human reinforcements jumped into the Virelian system, the sky above Virela was filled with ships, fast, sleek, and powerful. The accidental call had brought a human armada, and the galaxy was about to change forever. The arrival of the human reinforcements changed the mood on Virela. Where once there was worry and fear, now there was hope and determination. The human armada was growing, with sleek warships arriving from nearby colonies, each ready to join the fight. Captain James Archer stood on the deck of the USS Horizon, watching the endless stars outside the viewport. The hum of the ship filled the room, a quiet reminder that the battle ahead would not be easy. But the humans were ready. "Captain," Lieutenant Mira said, entering the room with a data tablet in hand, "we've received the latest reports from the scouts. The Zorvax fleet is gathering near the asteroid belt on the edge of the system. It looks like they're planning a large attack." Archer nodded. "Then we'll be ready. Gather the commanders. It's time to plan our next move." In the strategy room, human officers and Virelian commanders gathered around a large holographic map. Blue dots marked their ships and red dots showed the enemy positions. The room buzzed with a mix of tension and excitement. Commander Valen pointed to the enemy fleet. "The Zorvax believe their numbers will overwhelm us. They rely on brute force and fear." Captain Archer smiled. "We don't have to match their numbers. We just have to be smarter." The humans shared new ideas, ways to use speed, surprise, and teamwork to outmaneuver the Zorvax. They proposed splitting their forces into smaller, faster groups that could strike quickly and disappear before the enemy could react. Keelan, the Virelian warrior, scratched his chin thoughtfully. "This is different from our usual tactics. But it could work," Dr. Lyra added. "We also have new technology from human engineers that can disrupt enemy sensors. If we use it well, we can move unseen." The plan was risky but promising. They would launch a coordinated attack on the Zorvax supply lines to cut off their resources. Without supplies, the enemy would struggle to keep fighting. The day of the attack arrived. The human armada and Virelian fleet moved silently through space, hidden behind asteroid fields and dark clouds of cosmic dust. Captain Archer's heart pounded as the ships approached the enemy supply convoy. "Prepare for battle," he ordered. "Remember, hit hard and fast. Then pull back before they can regroup." The first strike hit like lightning. Human and Virelian fighters darted out from the shadows, firing precise bursts of energy that disabled enemy supply ships. The Zorvax were caught off guard, confused by the sudden attack. But the Zorvax were not weak. Their warships quickly responded, launching a counterattack. The sky erupted with flashes of light as ships exchanged fire. Explosions shook the darkness of space. Captain Archer's voice was calm but firm over the comms. "Keep moving. Don't get caught. Use the asteroid fields for cover." The humans and Virelians worked together like a well-oiled machine. Human pilots led daring maneuvers, weaving through enemy fire while Virelian gunners provided covering support. Lieutenant Mira guided the fighters, her voice steady despite the chaos. "Target the command ship. If we take it out, the rest will lose coordination." A group of human ships focused fire on the Zorvax command ship. Under heavy attack, it began to falter. Suddenly, the enemy fleet started to retreat, confused and disorganized. Cheers erupted on the horizon. They had won a major victory. But Captain Archer knew this was just one battle in a long war. "Good work," he told his crew. "But the fight is far from over. The Zorvax will come back stronger." As the human armada regrouped, the Virelians began to see humans not just as strangers but as comrades. They admired the humans' courage and creativity. The humans learned the value of patience and honor from the Virelians. Days turned into weeks. The humans and Virelians trained and planned together, improving their tactics and technology. Stories of their victories spread through the galaxy, inspiring other species to consider alliances. One evening, Captain Archer met with Commander Valen on a quiet hill overlooking the silver lakes of Virela. The twin moons cast a soft glow over the landscape. "Your people fight with heart," Valen said quietly. "You do not just use weapons. You use your minds," Archer smiled. "That's what makes us human. We don't give up even when things seem impossible." Valen nodded. "Together we might just change the fate of this war." But peace was not yet in sight. Late one night, alarms blared through the USS Horizon. The Zorvax had launched a surprise attack on one of the human supply bases on the edge of the system. Captain Archer and his crew rushed to the command center. "How many ships?" he demanded. Lieutenant Mira's fingers flew over the controls. At least 20 enemy fighters. They're fast and heavily armed. We need to protect the supply base at all costs, Archer ordered. Prepare to launch a rescue mission. A team of human and Varelian soldiers boarded smaller attack ships and sped toward the battle zone. The enemy fighters were already attacking the base, trying to destroy fuel stores and weapons. The fight was intense. Explosions rocked the base as the defenders struggled to hold the line. Human pilots showed their skill, weaving through enemy fire to shield their comrades. On the ground, human and Varelian soldiers fought side by side. The humans' advanced armor and weapons helped protect them, but the Varelians' knowledge of the terrain was invaluable. Captain Archer coordinated the battle from the horizon. Focus on the enemy's command ship. If we take it out, their fighters will lose direction. After a fierce struggle, the enemy command ship was disabled. The remaining Zorvax fighters retreated, leaving the supply base intact. The victory was hard won, but it sent a clear message. The humans and Varelians would not back down. In the quiet moments after the battle, Captain Archer gathered with his team. This war is far from over, he said. But every day we fight together, we grow stronger. Lieutenant Mira looked at him. We didn't mean to come here, she said softly. But now that we have, I can't imagine leaving. As the human armada prepared for the next battle, the galaxy watched with new hope. The humans were no longer just explorers, they were heroes. The accidental call that brought them here had sparked something greater. Together, humans and Varelians were rising against the tide. The victories had given the humans and Varelians hope, but the war was far from over. The Zorvax were dangerous and cunning. They were not the kind of enemy to give up easily. Just when the Allied forces thought they had a moment of calm, the Zorvax struck back, and harder than before. It started with a sudden, urgent message from the outer colonies. The human supply base at Tarion Station was under heavy attack. Tarion was a crucial point for the human armada's supplies of fuel, weapons, and food. Without it, the fleet would be left vulnerable. Captain James Archer was on the bridge of the USS Horizon when the alarm sounded. Red lights flashed and the crew moved quickly to their stations. Report, Archer demanded. Lieutenant Mira's face was serious as she relayed the information. The Zorvax have launched a surprise strike with over 30 fighters and 3 capital ships. They're hitting Tarion Station hard. Archer's jaw tightened. Prepare all ships for immediate deployment. We cannot lose Tarion. Commander Valen arrived on the bridge with a small group of Varelian officers. His expression was grim. The Zorvax are trying to cut off our lifeline. If they succeed, the entire alliance could collapse. Archer nodded. Then we fight with everything we have. The USS Horizon and the human armada raced through space toward Tarion Station. Along the way, they coordinated with Varelian fleets approaching from other directions. The plan was to trap the Zorvax attackers between their forces. As the battle began, space around Tarion exploded with light and energy. The Zorvax fighters swooped down on the station, firing their weapons and launching missiles. The human and Varelian defenders responded with fierce determination. From the command deck, Archer could see the chaos. Explosions rocked the station's outer defenses and enemy fighters darted in and out of cover. The station's shields flickered under the assault. Deploy the defense drones, Archer ordered. We need every weapon we can get. Hundreds of small, fast drones flew out from the station, targeting enemy fighters with laser beams and tracking missiles. The drones were a new technology developed by human engineers, and they were proving their worth. Despite the defense, the Zorvax capital ships unleashed powerful energy blasts, damaging parts of the station. Archer knew time was running out. We have to stop their command ship, he said. If we take it down, their fighters will lose control. Lieutenant Mira coordinated a strike team of human and Varelian pilots to attack the command ship. The pilots flew boldly through enemy fire, dodging missiles and weaving through dangerous debris. The battle was brutal. Several pilots were hit, their ships destroyed in bright flashes. But the strike team pushed forward. Captain Archer watched anxiously. Come on, come on. Suddenly, a huge explosion rocked the command ship. It shuddered, then lost power. The Zorvax fighters hesitated, confused without orders. Seizing the moment, the defenders launched a counterattack. The remaining enemy ships were pushed back and forced to retreat. Tarion Station's shields were failing, but the station had survived. In the quiet after the battle, Archer met with Commander Valen and Dr. Lyra in the station's command center. The room was dim, lit only by blinking consoles and the glow of distant stars. "We were lucky," Valen said. "The Zorvax nearly broke through." Dr. Lyra looked thoughtful. "They will not stop. Their next attack will be worse." Archer clenched his fists. "Then we have to be ready. We can't just defend, we have to take the fight to them." Plans were quickly made to send a team to the Zorvax homeworld, a harsh volcanic planet shrouded in thick clouds. The goal was to strike at the heart of their power and stop them once and for all. But the mission would be dangerous. The Zorvax home system was heavily guarded, and the humans and Virelians would be far from help. As the attack team prepared, Archer gathered his crew. "This will be our toughest mission yet," he said. "But if we succeed, we will change the future of the galaxy." Lieutenant Mira spoke up. "We have come a long way together. We fight not just for Varela or Earth, but for everyone who wants peace." The team nodded, ready to face the unknown. Meanwhile, on the surface of Virela, civilians and soldiers alike watched the stars with hope and fear. The war had touched every part of their lives. But now, with the humans fighting alongside them, they believed in a better tomorrow. Young Terrace, the Virelian who had become friends with Lieutenant Mira, stood with his family watching the night sky. "Do you think they will win?" his sister asked. Terrace smiled. "With humans and Virelians together, I believe they will." Back on the USS Horizon, the ship prepared for the long jump to the Zorvax system. The Armada followed, ready to face the enemy on their own ground. Captain Archer stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars. "We didn't mean to be called," he thought. "But now that we are here, we will fight to the end." The stars ahead glowed bright with the promise of battle and the hope of peace. The USS Horizon led the human and Virelian fleets through the dark silence of space toward the Zorvax home system. The stars outside the viewport seemed colder here, as if the universe itself was holding its breath before the coming storm. Captain James Archer stood on the bridge, eyes focused on the glowing points of light that marked the enemy's planets and warships. They were far from home, deep in enemy territory, but there was no turning back. Beside him, Lieutenant Mira checked the ship's systems. "We're ready, Captain. The fleet is holding formation." Commander Valen appeared, his face serious but calm. "Our spies tell us the Zorvax are expecting us. Their defenses are strong. This will be the hardest battle yet." Archer nodded. "We fight not just for ourselves, but for every species threatened by their cruelty." The plan was clear but dangerous. The fleets would split into 3 groups. One group would attack the outer defenses, drawing enemy forces away. The second would protect the supply lines and rescue ships. The third, and most important, would strike directly at the Zorvax capital city on their volcanic home planet. The humans and Virelians prepared carefully. Soldiers checked their weapons, pilots ran simulations, and engineers fine-tuned the ships. As the fleets moved into position, the first attack began. Explosions lit the dark space as the fleets clashed. Enemy warships fired powerful energy beams, but the human and Virelian ships used their speed and tactics to avoid most damage. Captain Archer led the strike group toward the heart of the Zorvax system. The enemy's outer defenses were fierce, but the human armada pressed forward, cutting through enemy fighters and disabling turrets. Suddenly, the volcano planet appeared ahead, red and glowing with molten lava flowing like rivers. It was a harsh, dangerous place, and the battle would be fought not just in space but on the ground. Archer and a team of soldiers prepared for a planetary assault. Their mission was to land near the capital city and destroy the Zorvax command center. The landing was rough. The ship shook as they passed through thick clouds of ash and smoke. Firestorms raged across the landscape, and the ground was cracked and glowing. Despite the danger, the soldiers landed safely. They moved quickly, using their advanced armor and weapons to fight off enemy patrols. The Zorvax warriors were fierce and relentless. They attacked with claws, energy weapons, and strange machines. But the humans and Virelians fought together, covering each other's backs. Captain Archer led the charge toward the command center, a massive fortress carved into the side of a volcano. The building pulsed with dark energy, controlled by the Zorvax leaders. Inside, the team faced traps and guards, but they pushed forward, determined to end the war. Meanwhile, in space, the battle raged on. The human and Virelian fleets worked in perfect harmony. Fighters dodged enemy fire while capital ships fired powerful blasts to protect their allies. Lieutenant Mira piloted a fighter, weaving through explosions and enemy ships. "We can't let them reinforce the planet," she radioed. "Keep them off balance." The enemy sent wave after wave of ships, but the human armada held strong. Back on the planet, Captain Archer's team reached the command center's core. They placed charges on the energy core, the source of the Zorvax's power. "Everyone, get clear," Archer shouted. The team ran as the charges detonated. A massive explosion shook the ground, and the fortress began to collapse. The destruction of the command center sent a shockwave through the enemy forces. The Zorvax fleets lost coordination, and their fighters began to retreat in confusion. Captain Archer and his team hurried to the extraction point. As they boarded their ship, they saw the volcano erupt in a spectacular explosion, lighting the sky. Back on the USS Horizon, Archer allowed himself a small smile. "It's over." Commander Valen joined him on the bridge. "The Zorvax are retreating. Their empire is broken," Dr. Lyra spoke up. "This victory will bring hope to the galaxy. Your people came without asking, but now you have changed everything." Captain Archer looked out at the stars. "We didn't mean to be called, but we answered, and we will keep fighting for peace." The human armada and their allies returned to Varela as heroes. The war was not forgotten, but the future was brighter. In the weeks that followed, the humans and Varelians worked to rebuild what had been lost. Peace talks began, and other species joined the alliance. Young Terrace watched the stars from Varela's forests, dreaming of a future where humans and aliens lived together in harmony. Captain Archer stood beside him during a ceremony celebrating the new alliance. "You see that star?" Archer asked. "It's the same from every world. No matter how far we travel, we share the same sky." Terrace smiled. "Thank you for coming when we needed you." Archer nodded. "We didn't mean to come, but when the call went out, we answered." The galaxy was vast and full of dangers, but also full of hope. The accidental call had changed everything, proving that when different worlds come together, even the darkest threats can be overcome.